Hello, you guys, and welcome to the Innergrowth podcast. I'm your host, Carolina. I hope you're doing amazing. I hope you're taking care of yourself and just finding some small way to pour into your own cup so that you can glow from the inside out, so that you can pour from your overflow and just feel better. And so that's my hope for you, and thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. Today we're going to be talking about mental health, and the reason that we're doing that is that May is Mental Health Month, and I wanted to just create an episode to share a few things that have really helped me with my own mental health and with my mindset overall, so that hopefully it can help you as well, and it can empower you with some tools that you can implement into your life so that you can feel more empowered and take more ownership of your own mindset and of your own mental health. So with all of that said, let's dive into the things that have helped my mental health. Let's get growing, and I'll see you guys on the other side. All right, so diving in, I have a list here on my notes app on my phone with the things that have improved my mental health. And so on today's conversation, we're going to dive into that, and I'm going to elaborate on each point and give you guys a little bit more context into why each of these things has been helpful. So let's just dive right into it. The first thing, and this is for all of my people pleasers out there, learning to say no. It's really, really tough mentally when your norm and your go-to is to always say yes. And don't get me wrong, I think it's really, really important to be able to say yes to new things and to be able to put yourself in new situations that will teach you things. You will learn from that. But at the same time, there's a difference between being open to new things and always saying yes automatically because you don't want to upset people, because you don't want to ruffle feathers. And what happens when you say yes to things that you actually want to say no to is that you start feeling resentful of that thing, of that situation, of that commitment, or of that person that asked you to do X thing. And so by learning to say no, you also learn to honor your own bandwidth and your own boundaries and your own needs so that you can show up better in the situations that feel like a hell yes. And in doing this, you prevent yourself from spreading yourself out so thin that you then burn out or just feel exhausted mentally and physically. And this has been something that I have personally applied in my life because I usually overestimate my abilities and my bandwidth and my energy. And then I spread myself out so thin, especially with social commitments and events and things that require me to get somewhere and interact with people. I always overestimate how much I am capable of doing that in tandem with all of my other commitments that I already have. And so something that I have been challenging myself a little bit more to do is to be really selective with who I spend my time with what I commit myself to, and with the amount of pressure that I put on myself in terms of things I think I'm supposed to be doing for other people and just in general. So let this be a reminder that you don't have to always say yes. And it's really, really powerful to learn to say your no's. And I love this quote that is, yes is a commitment, no is a choice. When you say no to something, you are allowing yourself to still say yes to other things. But once you say yes to something, you are locked into that thing. And a lot of the times, in the process of fine-tuning this, there are going to be moments where maybe you said yes to something that didn't feel aligned because you thought you had to give an answer immediately. And then in the future, if you are feeling spread out, you might have to tell that friend or that person, hey, listen, I am feeling so burnt out right now. I'm feeling so stretched thin. Could we please reschedule this to next week? Or could we schedule this to another day? And in honoring that, you will start to strengthen your relationship with yourself because you will be able to tune in way better to what you want to do and what you can do with your time and your energy. Okay, that one is so important. So I'm really happy we started off on a strong one. And the next one is something that is more practical, and that is to have a master to-do list. I essentially have a master list that I keep on my notes app so that I can access it on my phone and on my computer. And I usually just jot everything down there when I remember there's something that I need to do. And I create this list every single week, usually on Mondays, where I look through all of my work deliverables, all of my client meetings, all of my personal life to-dos and I jot them all down, and I usually break them up in categories. So for me, it's usually personal and then work, but this all changes depending on the moment that I'm in. Like there have been periods of time in this year when there were a lot of deliverables and to-dos that I had for the wedding. So wedding was also one of the categories. And right now we are actually moving. So the day that this episode goes live, I will be moving on this day, or I will have already moved into my new place. And that's something that's taking up a lot of my personal to-dos in this moment of my life. So just having all of this written down helps me so much because it eliminates decision fatigue. It prevents me from always thinking of all the things I have to do because it's already there. So all I have to do is open up my notes app and check it. And this is something you can touch base on week by week and adapt. And you can also break it up by smaller to-dos. So let's say I'm working with a brand on a campaign. I'll write on the top of the bullet point, campaign with XYZ brand. And then I will have sub bullets where I write out the due date of that campaign, submit concept for the campaign, film, edit, and turn in, and then revise. Like I write out all of those sub bullets, and that also helps me feel mentally better because even if I don't finish a whole bullet, I still can feel proud of myself for having completed the small tasks that are moving me closer to finishing that big to do. So that's something that is just underrated and helps so much. And so is Google Calendar. I didn't put this in my list, but that's something else that has helped me a lot with my mental health and my mental clarity, is just jotting down appointments, events, flights, hangouts with friends, social commitments, work deliverables, just putting it all out on Google Calendar and color coding it also is so helpful because it prevents me from forgetting things and then beating myself up about it and feeling stressed out because I don't know what's going on. So highly recommend using these two tools together. And then in the context of to-do lists, something that has also helped my mental health is shifting from thinking of my to-do as a to-manifest list. And the reason that this is empowering and helps my mental health is that it prevents me from feeling like, oh my God, there's all these things that I have to do and I'm always doing so much, to, oh my gosh, there's all these things I'm manifesting and all these things I'm bringing to life and that I am bringing into my physical reality. And I always write, in the top of the notes app that I have, to manifest list. And I also think this low-key helps me be more productive. Just this simple mental shift, but pro tip right there. I love that one. Okay, up next is sleep. More sleep, people. It's so common for us to undersleep. And if you are someone who is getting less than 7 hours of sleep multiple nights a week, this one is for you. When you are not getting enough sleep, you are not capable of processing things mentally in the same way as when you are well slept. I am telling you guys, this is extremely important, and I resisted this for way too long, but ever since I started prioritizing getting more sleep, my life has really changed for the better. And I'll give you guys a perfect example. Last night, I went to bed at like 10:30 a.m. and I woke up today at 7:30. So I got more than 8 hours of sleep and I am feeling on top of the world. I am feeling so much more mentally clear. I'm feeling so much more motivated, so much more energized, and it just feels really, really good. And when you are also underslept, that can really mess up with your hunger hormones. It can really affect your emotional balance and your ability to handle situations when unexpected things happen. It can make you more sensitive. And so by prioritizing sleep, you are 100% prioritizing your brain and therefore your mindset, your mental health. And I think one of the things that has really helped me with getting better sleep is having an unwinding routine when I finish off my workday. So for me, what that looks like, it's actually really simple. After I finish off my workday, if I haven't worked out yet earlier on in the day, I go to the gym, I move my body, and that kind of signals to me, okay, from this moment on, I'm not going to check work anymore. I'm not going to answer emails. I'm not going to worry about anything until tomorrow. That's the first thing. And then I usually shower and have dinner with Pedro. And then we usually watch some type of show together. We're currently watching Succession and I'm really liking it. And once we finish watching an episode or two, that's when I start to really signal to my body, okay, it's time to go to sleep. So I plug in my phone, usually in the living room. I wash my face, I brush my teeth, and then I go to bed and I turn off off all the lights and I read on my Kindle and I snuggle with Pedro a little bit. And then as soon as I get sleepy, I just put my Kindle away and I go to bed. And when I stick to this, it helps so much. But I would say that the most important thing of this entire unwinding routine is plugging your phone in the living room and then using an Alexa or some other type of alarm to get you up. Because the moment that you plug your phone in another part of your house and you don't touch it, it personally really helps me overthink a lot less as I'm falling asleep. And this also applies to disconnecting from work at a reasonable hour, because when I'm working until really late, or I'm scrolling or texting or on my phone until really late, until like too close to my bedtime, I have a really hard time falling asleep. And I also feel like my sleep is not as restful. So that's my pro tip there. And then also magnesium is a game changer. I've been taking magnesium consistently, I want to say for 2 years. I take it every single night and it helps so much with my sleep, with my recovery. It also really helps with digestion and regularity. So highly recommend. And one of my favorite ones is the one from Nature Made. I also like the one from JS Health, but there's a lot of good ones out there. And I usually take a complex of the magnesium citrate, magnesium malate, and the other magnesium that I'm forgetting. So those are my main recommendations when it comes to sleep, but don't sleep on sleep. Prioritize it and you will not regret it. Once it becomes a consistent thing in your life, you will see results and you will keep it up for sure. Up next is progress over perfection. You guys know I'm big on this, on inner growth, and all of my one-on-one clients that I work with in my coaching program are perfectionists, and working on my perfectionism has just been one of the most important things that I've done for my mindset, because when you are trying to constantly be perfect and seem perfect and do everything perfect, you waste a lot of mental energy and you put way too much pressure on yourself to the point where you never feel like you're doing enough. Let's be honest. Perfection doesn't exist. So when you're constantly seeking something that doesn't exist and you are constantly putting more and more pressure on yourself, you're never really reaching any endpoint. You're constantly just feeling like you're not enough. So releasing this mentality of I need to seem perfect has been really important, but also in the sense of like wanting situations and wanting other people to be perfect, because they're not going to be. Things might go wrong. People make mistakes. Everyone's learning. And so if you also are able to reduce this idea that other people need to be perfect and stop idealizing things, that can really, really help. But the progress over perfection, especially, is just realizing that you are always growing, and no matter what, you can always learn something from your mistakes. So just focus on moving forward and don't let yourself fall to the trap of waiting for the perfect time, or waiting for the perfect idea, or waiting until you know enough, all these things, to start something or to move forward on a project, on something that you're trying to achieve, on some type of idea. Because if you get into that mental trap, it will hold you back and it will prevent you from starting and from getting that momentum going. So really catch yourself if that's something that you have been doing and work on that. And ultimately, as I said, work on feeling like you are doing enough with what you know right now, and that you have done enough at the end of the day, so that you can just disconnect from whatever it is you're working on and prioritize your rest also. Okay, next is affirmations and gratitude. I've mentioned this in a few episodes. I've mentioned it on my socials because it's just so powerful. I've been doing this simple journaling practice recently while I have breakfast, and it has totally changed the game for me. I also recommend this to all of my coaching clients, and it's so simple. It's so fast and it helps a lot. Basically, what you do is you just grab a piece of paper, and then in the first half of the page, you just write out affirmations. This can be in the I am format, or any positive phrase, any mindset that you want to have in your life, any positive thought that you want to enhance. So maybe it's I'm abundant, I'm worthy, I'm beautiful inside and out, things are always working out for me, I am always calling in aligned opportunities, I glow and I am magnetic. Whatever it is, but just write out those affirmations. And then in the second half of the page, just write out a gratitude list. And I like writing it as I am so grateful for ... And this helps you improve your self-talk and your mindset, of course, but it also helps you realize all the abundance that is already in your life, all the things that are good that you can celebrate and feel happy about and feel joyful about. And it really is so simple, but it goes very, very far. So I recommend it a lot, and I like doing this while I eat breakfast, and that helps me stick to it more consistently. Okay, next is releasing self-judgment. For me, one of the biggest things that affected my mental health for so long in my life, especially in college and in high school, was judging myself. And I often would project this and think that everyone else was judging me, or think that someone giving me feedback or saying something that wasn't a compliment meant they were judging me. And don't get me wrong, this is still an area of growth for me. It's something I'm constantly working on, but realizing that no one is really judging you. You're probably just judging yourself way, way more harshly than anyone else is judging you. And the moment that you realize this, you will start to find more self-compassion, and you can start holding more space for the fact that you are imperfect and you're a work in progress, and it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not know all the answers. It's okay to not know yourself completely, because that's what we're all here to learn, and that's what we're all here to do. So really just drop the self-judgment, and that really goes so hand in hand with the perfectionism too. But it's just realizing that that inner voice in your head, that inner critic that's really, really loud and mean, is not you. It's not you. It's not your higher self. It's not your most loving, kind, and abundant self. So when you're able to notice that mean voice in your head, catch yourself and choose to drop it and choose to say an affirmation, choose to emphasize something else. That's really powerful. Okay, up next is moving the needle a little bit each day. And this is a shift that I recently had around the concept of productivity. I did a progressed chart reading and a annual return reading in my birth chart with an astrologer. And this is something she told me that has really stuck with me and has really, really been helpful. And essentially, it's about this concept of productivity, right? So most people, when they think about productivity, they think, okay, I need to go all in on this task and finish it, because you want to cross off that big thing off of your to-do list. But most of the times when we put things on a pedestal like that, we feel so overwhelmed and we keep pushing it off, or we end up putting all these other important things on hold until we finish this one big thing. And then all of that gets accumulated, and then it's really stressful to deal with all the other to-dos that you're not really tackling because you're not prioritizing them. And so what she was telling me, what this astrologer was telling me, is that in this phase of my life, I have a lot going on, and it's true. I'm moving, I'm planning my wedding, I'm working with all these brands, I have my clients, I have my YouTube channel, I have the podcast, I have all of this going on, and I'm also traveling a lot in this phase of life, which has been kind of unintentional, but it's just been happening. And because of all of this, it's really important for me to find a way to pour a little bit into everything each day, so that by the time the end of the month comes or the end of the year comes, I will have done a lot of progress on a lot of different things. So this is where the power of consistency plays a role, but it's also about, when we're looking at that to manifest list, putting those sub bullets underneath a big bullet so that you can then wrap your head around, okay, how can I move the needle a little bit on this one thing, and a little bit on this other thing, and a little bit on this other thing today. And that has just completely changed my mindset. I think it's so powerful. So hopefully it helps you as well. Okay, up next is movement is medicine. Moving your body is truly so powerful for your mental health. In the physical sense of it, you are moving stagnant energy from your soul, from your mind, from your body when you are working out. But also, moving your body gives you those endorphins, right? It gives you that boost of energy that feels really, really good. And it does affect how you show up and everything else. And so I think that starting to see movement in this way is really important, because I had a toxic relationship with movement for years. And over the last few years, this is how I've started approaching it, and it has changed the game for me, and it has helped me stay consistent from this other angle, from this other lens, and it has truly benefited me so much. I am way nicer, I'm way calmer when I have moved my body. So prioritize movement for this reason above any other reason, above any aesthetic reason or anything else, because when you see movement in this way, you find so much more gratitude for it and for your body in the process too. Okay, we're getting close to the end, but next one is surround yourself with uplifting and positive people. The people you surround yourself matter. And oftentimes we end up staying stuck, quote unquote, in certain relationships because these are the people you've surrounded yourself with for a really long time, and it's just your normal. But that said, sometimes it's really important to question your friendships or reevaluate the people you're hanging out with, and pay attention to how the people you're hanging out with make you feel. When you leave a hangout, do you feel uplifted, or do you feel drained, or do you feel stressed, or do you feel uncomfortable or anxious? That is all communication. That is all information. affirmation. And that is a way that your body and your emotions are communicating to you how those people affect you. And something that I have done over the years is be really, really intentional with my friendships and with who I bring into my life and who I make a priority in my life. And I really think this has been a huge part of my success, because I used to surround myself with people who I felt were judging me, or who I felt weren't the types of people that I wanted to be more like. So by being super intentional and by prioritizing the people who I know love me for who I am, and who don't have a conditional relationship with me, and who prioritize me and want the best for me and make me feel heard, this has all really helped my mental health so much, because I'm no longer wasting energy on friends that don't fill up my cup, and I am bringing myself up in the process. It's important to make a side note here. There are going to be moments in life when your friends might be going through shit. Your friends might be going through situations that feel sad or uncomfortable, and maybe they don't have as much bandwidth to give to you. And that is totally fine. That's a part of life, in the same way that you're going to go through moments in life when you might not have as much energy to pour into your friends. And even though that is the case, even though these moments exist, what matters is the friendship as a whole. Yeah, if your friend is going through some traumatic stuff, they're not going to be able to uplift you like they normally do. But if as a whole that friend is uplifting, is loving, is kind, is gentle, is thoughtful, is a good listener, then that is someone that you should keep in your life, and it's someone that you should care for in those moments when they're going through difficult situations. So yeah, think about that, of course, when you are evaluating your relationships, and see your friends as whole individuals and take context into account. But as a whole, really try to prioritize friends who truly make you feel good and who aren't toxic to you in any way or who bring you down. Second to last point is try to see the silver lining. Try to see rejection as a redirection. I'm an optimist, you guys. I always see things in the best light. I always try to see people in the best light. I always try to show compassion to people and put things into context. But I truly always see the silver lining in situations. And even if something really bad is happening, I try to put everything else into context. And that's where I think the gratitude list writing helps a lot, because it makes you realize, okay, even if these things aren't going as planned, there's still all this other stuff that I can be grateful for. And try to see the lessons instead of the mistakes. Try to see the rejection or something not going as you planned as a redirection, as, okay, there's definitely something better that's gonna come. If something isn't taking the time that you had hoped for, if something's taking really long to come into your life, trust the waiting period. Trust that you're being prepared and you're being molded into a version of you that can hold space for all of that in the future. So really try to hold all of this energy in when you are interpreting life and when you're absorbing situations, because it will help you see life in such a better light and see people in such a better light, and as a result uplift your vibration and then call in things that are aligned with that vibration. Okay, last thing, and this one's an important one. You don't have to do it all right now. You don't. Life is long. You have time. You have time. I used to put so much pressure on myself, and I still sometimes do, to do it all. I have all these goals, I have all these aspirations, and I have all these things I want to do and attract and create, and then I burn out. And then I spread myself thin. And then I feel like I'm never doing enough because I'm trying to do too many things. So there's power in realizing this, because when you're able to realize that you don't have to do it all right now, that you have time, you're able to double down on the things that are flowing right now, on the things that you are doing really, really well. And then as a result, those things will grow and they'll blossom. So water the seeds that you have already planted, and don't always be trying to plant new seeds, because that way you're going to prevent your garden from truly growing. So pour into the things that you have already grown, and trust that there's gonna be a moment in time in the future, there's going to be different chapters of your life where you're going to be able to manifest those other goals. But everything in its due time. Release that pressure, release that need to do it all, because you will be able to rest more. You'll be able to give yourself more compassion and more grace in the process. So really, really implement that, and trust me, it will help a lot. So that's the list I wrote. Those are some of the things that have really helped my mental health, some of the mindset shifts, some of the habits, some of the tangible journaling prompts, and mostly just different concepts that I've implemented into my journey, into my inner growth journey, that have up-leveled me, that have helped me feel more mentally clear, that have helped me feel more balanced. And I hope that you are leaving this episode feeling inspired in some way or having resonated with some of these points so that you can then implement one of them in your life and start making these mental shifts so that you can also feel better. And if you guys enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to me if you subscribed on YouTube and left a comment on this YouTube episode telling me which point you liked the most. I'm gonna read them out one more time and then you can drop that comment down to tell me. But here we go. Learn to say no, have a master to-do list or the manifest list, get more sleep, focus on progress over perfection, implement an affirmation and gratitude practice, release self-judgment, move the needle a little bit each day, focus on prioritizing movement as your medicine and as something that will uplift your mindset, surround yourself with positive people and pay attention to who you surround yourself with, try to see the silver linings, try to see things as redirections, and remember that you don't have to do it all right now. You don't. And we are all on this journey together. I really appreciate you guys. Don't forget to subscribe and to hit the bell icon on Spotify so you can be notified when new episodes go live, or you can hit the plus button on Apple. But anyway, love you all. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Don't forget to pour into yourself, to water yourself. And I'll see you guys next week with another episode. Bye. Mwah.